The highest court in the United States just declared Donald Trump's tariffs unconstitutional. 6 justices, including 2 Trump himself appointed, ruled that the president violated the separation of powers and exceeded his authority. The decision was clear. The law was unambiguous. Trump had no legal right to impose these taxes on American businesses and consumers. His response? He raised them. Within hours of the Supreme Court striking down his tariffs as illegal, Trump signed an executive order imposing new ones. Then, 36 hours later, he increased them again. What began as a 10% global tax on Saturday morning became 15% by Saturday afternoon. Not because circumstances changed, not because new evidence emerged, but because Donald Trump decided the Supreme Court does not get to tell him what to do. Subscribe to American Pulse right now because what you are witnessing is not a policy dispute. This is a direct challenge to the constitutional framework that separates executive, legislative, and judicial power. And it is happening in real time. Here is exactly what occurred over the last 72 hours. On Thursday, February 20th, at approximately 10:15 a.m. Eastern Time, the Supreme Court issued its ruling in consolidated cases challenging Trump's use of emergency powers to impose tariffs. Chief Justice John Roberts wrote the majority opinion. The vote was 6-3. The 3 dissenters were Justices Clarence Thomas, Samuel Alito, and Brett Kavanaugh, all conservatives, with Kavanaugh being one of Trump's own appointees. The opinion was direct and unambiguous. Roberts wrote, "The power to tax lies with Congress. In light of the breadth, history, and constitutional context of the authority asserted, the President must identify clear congressional authorization to exercise it. He has not." The court specifically addressed Trump's use of the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, known as IEPA, which Trump had invoked to justify imposing tariffs on nearly every country in the world. Roberts concluded that nothing in IEPA's text, structure, or history supports using it to levy taxes. The word tariff does not appear anywhere in the statute. No previous president had ever used IEPA for taxation. And the Constitution explicitly grants Congress, not the President, the power to impose duties and regulate commerce. Justice Elena Kagan wrote a separate concurrence emphasizing that normal statutory interpretation alone resolves the case. She stated, "Nothing in the definition of regulate naturally refers to levying taxes. Straight-up statutory construction resolves this for me. I need no major questions thumb on the interpretive scales." Translation: This was not a close call. The law is clear. Trump violated it. Trump received the news while meeting with governors at the White House. An aide handed him a note. He read it, said aloud, "That's a disgrace," and walked out of the room. 2 hours later, he held a press conference. And what he said in that room should alarm every American, regardless of political affiliation. Trump called the decision deeply disappointing. He said he was ashamed of certain members of the court, absolutely ashamed for not having the courage to do what's right for our country. He accused the justices of being influenced by foreign interests. When reporters asked what he meant, he said, "Foreign interests are represented by people that I believe have undue influence. They have a lot of influence over the Supreme Court, whether it's through fear or respect or friendships, I don't know." Let me be clear about what Trump just alleged. He is claiming that 6 Supreme Court justices, including Chief Justice Roberts and Justice Amy Coney Barrett, both conservatives, ruled against him because foreign governments somehow control them. He provided no evidence. He named no names. He cited no facts. He simply accused the judicial branch of corruption because they ruled that he broke the law. Then Trump praised the 3 dissenters. He thanked Justice Kavanaugh for his genius and his great ability. He said he was very proud of that appointment. Think about what that means. Trump is publicly rewarding justices who side with him and attacking those who do not. He is treating the Supreme Court like employees who either serve his interests or face his wrath. Meanwhile, American consumers paid those illegal tariffs in the form of higher prices. When companies pay tariffs, they pass the cost to customers. Groceries, electronics, clothing, cars. Everything got more expensive because of taxes the Supreme Court now says were unconstitutional. And there is no mechanism to refund consumers. The money is gone. This is not abstract legal theory. This is real economic harm to real people caused by a president who ignored the law. And now, instead of accepting accountability, Trump is doubling down with new tariffs that legal experts say are equally problematic. Former Vice President Mike Pence, who served under Trump and rarely criticizes him publicly, issued a rare statement praising the Supreme Court's decision. Pence wrote, "This is a victory for the American people and a win for the separation of powers enshrined in the Constitution. Our Supreme Court has reaffirmed that the Constitution grants Congress, not the President, the power to tax." Pence went on, "I have long believed that tariffs should be used sparingly and strategically, and only when authorized by Congress. Today's ruling upholds that principle." This is significant. Pence is a conservative Republican. He worked closely with Trump for 4 years, and even he is publicly stating that Trump overstepped constitutional boundaries. Legal scholars are united in their assessment. Harvard Law professor Lawrence Tribe stated, "The ruling is a definitive rejection of Trump's theory of unchecked executive power. The court made clear that emergency powers do not give the president a blank check to tax Americans." Georgetown law professor Steve Vladek added, "This is one of the most important separation of powers decisions in decades. It reaffirms that even in times of claimed emergency, the president cannot usurp Congress's constitutional authority." But Trump does not care what legal scholars say. He does not care what the Constitution says. And based on his actions over the last 3 days, he does not care what the Supreme Court says either. He will find another statute, claim it authorizes what he wants, and impose tariffs anyway. And when courts strike those down, he will find yet another law and start over. This is government by loophole. Trump is not operating within the system. He is exploiting every ambiguity, every untested provision, every gap in enforcement to do what he has been told he cannot do. And the question facing the country is whether the other branches of government will stop him. Congress has the power to act. Section 122 tariffs automatically expire after 150 days unless Congress votes to extend them. That means by late July, these tariffs will disappear unless lawmakers approve them. Democrats control neither the House nor the Senate, but they can force votes. They can make Republicans go on record supporting tariffs that the Supreme Court effectively called unconstitutional. And some Republicans have already expressed concern. Senator Mitt Romney issued a statement saying, "The president's response to the court's decision raises serious questions about his commitment to the rule of law. I am reviewing the legal basis for the new tariffs and will be asking the administration to provide detailed justification." Senator Lisa Murkowski said, "I have always believed tariffs should be a tool of last resort and should require congressional approval. I am troubled by the speed with which new tariffs were imposed following the court's ruling. Even some House Republicans are uncomfortable." Representative Chip Roy, a hardline conservative, said, "I support the president on many issues, but I also believe in the Constitution. Congress has the power of the purse. That includes the power to tax. The president cannot bypass that. These are not Democrats. These are Republicans expressing doubt about whether Trump has the authority he claims. But expressing doubt and taking action are two different things. Unless Republicans are willing to vote against Trump's tariffs, unless they are willing to let them expire in July, the concerns mean nothing. And historically, congressional Republicans have been unwilling to cross Trump even when they privately disagree with him. The courts remain the most reliable check on Trump's power. But courts take time, lawsuits must be filed, cases must be litigated, appeals must be heard, and in the meantime, the tariffs stay in place. Trump knows this. He is counting on it. He loses in court eventually, but by then he has already collected billions in taxes and reshaped trade relationships. This is the pattern. Overreach. Get sued. Lose. Find a new statute. Repeat. And with each cycle, the damage accumulates. Prices rise. Businesses relocate. Trading partners retaliate. The global economy destabilizes, all because one man refuses to accept that the law applies to him. Global markets reacted immediately to the Supreme Court ruling and Trump's defiance. Stock futures dropped. Currency markets fluctuated. Foreign governments issued statements expressing confusion about which tariffs apply and for how long. South Korea, Japan, Taiwan, and the United Kingdom all signed trade deals with the United States in recent weeks that set specific tariff rates. Those deals were negotiated under the assumption that Trump's emergency tariffs were legal. Now that the Supreme Court says they were not, do those agreements still stand? Trump's trade representative said yes. The deals remain in effect at the negotiated rates even if those rates are higher than the new Section 122 tariffs. So a country like Malaysia, which agreed to a 19% tariff, will continue paying 19% even though the new global baseline is 15%. That makes no sense. Why would a country agree to pay more than the standard rate? The answer is they would not if they understood the legal situation. But Trump's team negotiated those deals in bad faith, knowing the underlying legal authority was shaky. This is what happens when a president treats international agreements like real estate deals. Trading partners lose trust. They start demanding protections. They build in escape clauses. They hedge their commitments. And over time, the United States becomes a less reliable partner. That does not happen overnight. It accumulates gradually until one day America finds itself isolated, and nobody remembers exactly when it started. The Supreme Court decision was supposed to be a reset, a moment when the rule of law reasserted itself, a reminder that even the president operates within constitutional constraints. Instead, it became another escalation, another norm shattered, another institution attacked. And the question is no longer whether Trump will respect legal boundaries. The question is whether anyone can make him. Stay with American Pulse as this develops. Subscribe and share this video because the next 150 days will determine whether Section 122 tariffs survive or whether courts strike them down too. And if they are struck down, what statute will Trump invoke next? How many times will this cycle repeat before Congress or the courts or the American people say enough?